Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up. It's my delight to be with you. One of my favorite movies is Field of Dreams. It was written by a man named W.P. Kinsella. It's a wonderful story about a baseball player who comes back to help a young man heal with his father. I'm sure you've seen the movie and love it. So when W.P. Kinsella wrote the book, he called it Field of Dreams. That was his idea for the title. But when he went to the publisher, they liked the book, but they didn't like the title, so they decided to call the book Shoeless Joe. That's how they published the book, as Shoeless Joe. Well, when it came time for the movie to be produced, they read the book, they liked the book, and the producer said, well, we like the book, but we don't like the name of it. We think it should be called Field of Dreams. And they never knew that the original name in Kinsella's mind was Field of Dreams. But the book was Field of Dreams, and that was the real title of the book. So it's everything has a destiny, everything has an identity. And people who are tapped into the true identity of something realize what it is and they let it be what it is. So my title for today is Everything is What It Wants to Be, which means that everything has a purpose in the mind of God. Everything was created for a reason. And everything has an essence. So a frog is frogness. It was born to be a frog. And a tree was born to be a tree. And if you try to make a frog a tree or a tree a frog, it won't work. So applied to human beings, there's something that you were born to be. There's an essence to who you are. There's a reality and a purpose to your life. And when you are aligned with that purpose and you express it, everything works. When you are misaligned with that purpose, nothing works because the universe rewards you for being what you are, and it doesn't reward you when you're being what you're not. And my definition of integrity is that the life that you're living on the outside is a match to who you are on the inside. And when there's high alignment, then everything flows. It's the Tao. I wrote a book called it's about the Tao Te Ching, called The Tao Made Easy. And the Tao means there's a flow, there's a river of life, there's an expression that God wants to bring into life. And when you're with that expression, you're serving your purpose. So when you're not who you are, there's a gap. And the size of that gap equals the pain in your life. And you can diminish the pain in your life by living authentically, by telling the truth about who you are and what you want to be. And that's where real power comes. Now, this principle also applies to interactions with other people, to relationships, and to business deals, let's say. So, because everything is what it wants to be, there's this principle called the right of matching or the right of consciousness, which says that if something belongs to you by right of consciousness, if it is a match to who you are, then it's going to come easily and naturally. If it's not a match to who you are, you can fight for years, but it ain't going to happen because it doesn't really belong to you. And this is a really healthy, helpful principle because it means that you don't have to struggle for anything. It just means you just have to hold the consciousness of who you are and what you are and where you belong in the universe. So a while back, Dee and I were looking for a house on the big island of Hawaii, and we found one we liked. And we checked with the realtor. He said, sorry, it's just going into escrow. There's a deal in the works. And we told him, well, okay, if anything happens, let us know. And we just released it. We said, okay, if this house is for us, then it will come to us easily and organically. And if not, there's a better one. And so a week later, the realtor calls us and he says, oh, the deal fell out of escrow. It's open, available. We made an offer. It was accepted. It was a beautiful, peaceful, easy, joyful transition. We lived in the house for years and enjoyed it. And so we trusted that if the house belonged to us by right of our consciousness, then it would happen, and it did. The people who had the house and fell out of escrow, it was not a match to them, so they didn't get it. So this really eliminates a lot of the struggle and the angst of trying to make things happen. We've been taught that if you just struggle enough and hustle and sweat enough, good things will happen. Well, you do have to put work in. I'm not suggesting to be lazy, but there's an underlying principle that's even more powerful than struggle, and that's the principle of ease and flow. Also, a number of years ago, I was looking for a new office. I had to leave my old one. And I found one in a small town about 20 minutes from my house. And it was okay. I wasn't crazy about it. It was on a busy corner, and the rooms were small, and the price was a little high. But I was under pressure to move, so I told the realtor, we'll take it. Well, I needed to go in by the end of the month, by the beginning of next month. And the realtor didn't call me back. And I said, what's up? He said, well, I talked to the owner, and he said, he doesn't like you. He said that. He looked in the bookstore and he saw one of your books, and he doesn't agree with your philosophy, so he doesn't want to rent to you. So I said, isn't that illegal? He said, well, maybe. He said, but it's not worth fighting about. So I said, okay, I'm not going to push this. So I'm driving home that day, and an inner voice said, well, take this side road, go through the sort of an off road through the country. So I took that road. And I see on this country lane a little store, like a little grocery store, and it said for rent. And I went in, it was a beautiful big space, it was all cleared out. And the lady was a lovely lady, an owner, and the last group that had been there was a Tai Chi group. And the rent was much less than the other place, and it was just a few minutes from my house, and it was in the middle of nature, and it was an ideal place for us. We rented that for years. So by that other office being blocked, it was a redirect. It wasn't a rejection. It was a redirect. It was not a dead end. It was a T saying, okay, it doesn't belong to you. Go to the place where something belongs to you. And so everything is what it wants to be. That office wanted to be my office. And Spirit wanted it to be my office. And that's how it worked out. The least effort. I could have argued with that original landlord, but what good would it do? It didn't belong. Why fight for something that doesn't belong to you? I had a lovely lady call me up on my radio show once. She said, oh, I've been dating this guy. And he said, don't call me or text me anymore. What should I do? So I said, well, I suggest you don't call him or text him anymore. I said, why would you pursue someone who doesn't want you? Because he doesn't appreciate you. He doesn't get you. Now, there's somebody else out there who does. So they say that God's rejection, human beings' rejection is God's protection. Human beings' rejection is God's protection. I said, why would you fight for something that doesn't belong to you? If he turns you away, then he's not a match to you. And the good news is there's somebody else who is a match. And somebody who is a match will get you. They will honor you and see you for who you are and appreciate you. This first guy didn't. So thank him for pointing you in a direction where you can be with somebody who really belongs to you. That's the way the game works. And there is an element of destiny and stuff. I have a new book coming out in April called Soul and Destiny. And there's also going to be an 8-week webinar series on it starting in May. If you want to sign up for that, I'd love to play with you on that. It'll be on my website very soon, alancohen.com, so check it out. And I also send out a newsletter with advance offerings. So you sign up for my newsletter and you'll get that. Anyway, in this book, I cite a number of really stunning, astounding, amazing examples of how people get together by destiny. There are many, many examples. I'll give you just one. There was a couple who was engaged to be married in England. They were probably early 20s. And they were looking through their family photographs in preparation for their wedding. And they found a photograph in which their parents and their families were on the same beach when these kids were age 10. And so the groom's family was in one spot on the beach, and then maybe 10 yards from on the beach was the girl's family, and there's the girl. The boy was 10, the girl was 10, and they were on the same beach 10 paces away at age 10. And the girl's family lived like 300 miles away. They just happened to be at that beach as kind of a fluke. But it wasn't a fluke because this couple had a soul connection. And, what are the chances of getting married to somebody and seeing that you're in each other's picture at the age of 10? I mean, go figure. So there are right things that are meant for us to happen. And if we just relax and let it happen. Now, let's talk about relationships a little more. So if you belong to somebody in a relationship and they belong to you, I don't mean this in a possessive sense. I mean this in a divine appointment sense. Nobody owns anybody, but God puts people together for reasons. So if you have a destiny together, it's going to happen. In college, I dated a lovely girl named Ellen. And we dated for a little while and we just kind of drifted apart. And then I got a call from her roommate on my voicemail. And it said, yeah, Ellen would like you to call her, please. And so I called her and we rekindled our relationship. And I said, why did you want me to call you? She said, well, I never told my roommate to tell you to call me. She said, my roommate was playing Cupid because I liked you. Well, that roommate was an agent of destiny. We were together for 4 more years. We had a lovely relationship during our college years. And so that relationship was not finished. We dated for a couple of months, but then we broke up and we got back together because there was a purpose and a destiny. We belonged to each other for those 4 years at least. Now, some people, they get divorced, but they get back together. They break up and they get back together because it's not done yet, you understand? I know one couple, believe it or not, they were divorced and remarried. They were married and divorced and remarried like 3 or 4 times, together apart, together apart, together apart. And they were still in a relationship, you understand? You can say you're divorced. You can even have a divorce decree on paper. But if you're still connected in spirit, you're going to be connected until you play your relationship out or get back together or graduate from a relationship spiritually. There's all kinds of reasons that people stay together. And so human papers may say one thing, but spirit may say another. There's people who are married on paper. They're legally married, but they're not married in spirit at all. They're sleeping in the same bed and they're kind of walking through their lives, but they're not connected in spirit. You cannot really say they're married. Perhaps you've been in a situation like that. So what the paper says is not the same thing as what spirit says. So what I'd like to do today is help you eliminate all anxiety about what comes to you, what belongs to you. Because the universe functions by divine laws far more than human laws. There's a thing called the right of consciousness, which means that everything that matches your consciousness will come to you easily and naturally. And everything that doesn't match your consciousness will depart from you or not even show up in your life or be invisible to you because it's not in your mind. It doesn't belong to you. And this is a blessed law, my friends. You don't want things that don't belong to you. You don't want to fight for things that don't belong to you. So a really good prayer would be something like, I am now open and I accept everything that belongs to me by right of my consciousness, by divine order, by divine appointment. I hereby release anyone and anything in my life that is not a match to who I am and my highest good. And now I now trust the divine creator. I trust the law of attraction. I trust the law of matching to sort all of these details out for me. I do not have to micromanage the details of my job or my relationship or my health, that there is a divine Tao that is flowing me to what was right for me and is flowing to me what is right for me. So everything is what it wants to be. Don't try to make it what it's not. If you're not having a relationship that works, don't fight for it. I mean, you certainly want to do your effort to have a relationship work, but we try to, let's say you have a romantic relationship and you try to make it a friendship, but it really wants to be romance. Or let's say you have a friendship and you try to make it romantic, but it really wants to be friendship. You understand that every job is what it wants to be. Every relationship is every living situation, every health situation, every business deal is what it wants to be. So just, Beatles song, let it be, just let everything be what it wants to be, and life will take care of you immaculately and impeccably and gracefully and joyfully and wholeheartedly, and your life can become a divine dance in which everything that belongs to you shows up by divine order. So I hope this gives you some encouragement. It's just the way it is. So let's let everything be the way it is, shall we? Have a wonderful week.